Good Wednesday evening, everybody. Welcome back to another video. And this is the culmination of January content. I'm finally going to give you a recap of all 17 movies that I watched in January. So, this ain't going to be my hour-long special that was the movies that I watched in December. But, I still watched a lot of movies. But, at the beginning of the month, there was pretty much a big snow that caused me to watch a bunch of movies at the beginning of the month. But I managed to watch 8 new releases, and all the rest were on streaming. So, half and half. So, pretty much I have a variety here. I have horror, comedy, there is drama, and a little bit of action. So without further ado, let's go ahead and kick this thing off without making it too long. And the movie that I started 2025 off with, and I do believe that I did watch this New Year's Day, Splinter. And I watched this on Tubi because I had no idea what I wanted to watch. And this was a horror movie that featured a couple that goes to like a gas station, but they are being plagued by some type of porcupine zombie creatures. That's all I can tell you. And the splinters cause the victims to like turn into these creatures. I really did not care for this one at all. Moving on from there. The next movie I watched was the only movie that I own in this entire list. I did a rewatch of Terrifier 3. And this was only a couple days after my first movie. And this is a new Christmas slasher that will definitely go down in history as one that I will probably watch more often than not. This is my second favorite Terrifier movie. And it's gory, and there are some kills in here that rival Terrifier 2. But I do think that Terrifier 2 is the best of the trilogy. But this is a really gnarly movie. That shower scene, yo. But Art the Clown and Vicky are back to terrorize Sienna and her brother just in time for Christmas. This ended up being number 11 in my top 15 movies of 2024. So it literally missed the top 10, but it's pretty good placement. But that was my rewatch of Terrifier 3. If you want more thoughts, I did a review back in October, so you can check that one out. But moving on from there, y'all are going to think I'm crazy going from Terrifier 3 to Air Bud Golden Receiver. So, this is the sequel to Air Bud, and this time Buddy plays football. If you don't know the Air Bud franchise, it's basically a dog playing sports. So, Buddy plays football, and he's being hunted by like these circus performers or whatever. And it's just a harmless kiddie movie. I'm a sucker for these types of movies. Leave me alone. But moving on from there, the next movie I watched was the first brand new movie that I watched in 2025. That just so happens to be a 2024 release. But it was released on January 3rd. That movie is The Damned. And I almost forgot that I saw this. January was a long month. But this is a new period piece that mirrors The Fog and The Thing. Because there's like some sinister presence that took out this ship. And this mysterious presence is hunting a small fishing village in Iceland. I really enjoyed this movie, and it was a slow burn, but the ending was kind of lackluster. It just ended. And for a January horror release, this one was actually really decent. January had some very decent movies. But moving on from there, this next set of movies all happened in the span of that big snowstorm that we had at the very beginning of January. And I'm counting 6 movies here that I watched in the span of like 2 days. The first of the bunch was Amber Alert. And this is a very quick 90-minute movie that stars Hayden Panettiere and Tyler James Williams. And these characters are in pursuit of a possible kidnapping. So Hayden Panettiere just takes a ride share and they both go on the hunt to try and get this girl before something bad happens to her. Pretty solid thriller, but I watched it. Moving on from there, 23 Blast. This is a movie that I've been really wanting to watch for years, and I finally watched it. So this is based off of a true story about a football player who became blind, and he just tried to stop at nothing to just keep playing football. And he does become very successful in that venture. And I thought that this movie was actually pretty solid. Rebel Ridge was next. And this was a Netflix original movie that I missed. And this is basically a modern day retelling of First Blood. But this is about like an army vet who is just being harassed by cops. And all he wants to do is just get bail money for his brother before he goes to prison. Pretty solid movie, but I almost forgot that I even watched this. So moving on from there, Law Abiding Citizen. And I've seen this movie at least 5 or 6 times in my life. And this came out in 2009, which is already aging me. But this stars Jamie Foxx and Gerard Butler. Gerard Butler was the victim of circumstance in the very beginning of this movie. There was like a group of thugs who pretty much murdered his entire family in front of him, and he turns out to be an anti-hero, but then he goes on a path of vengeance towards the people who killed his family, and he ends up in custody. And Jamie Foxx is like a district attorney trying to bring him down once and for all. Now, a lot of people have problems with the way this thing ends, and I gotta admit that Gerard Butler should not have died, because he was just a regular dude. But there are some very gnarly kills in here. I mean, it is very gory for a crime thriller. And I've always enjoyed this one, but the ending is kind of the killer here, because Jamie Foxx gets off scot-free. But moving on from there, a totally different movie. White Chicks. I gotta admit, I watched this once a long, long time ago. But this is the only other time that I ever watched White Chicks. And this was pretty much the last great Wayans Brothers collaborations. Sean and Marlon are basically two FBI agents who go undercover as white chicks to like uncover an embezzlement conspiracy. This movie is dumb, but it's also very hilarious. So, moving on from there, the last movie that I watched at home in January was Low Lifes. And this was on Tubi. And this movie was balancing tones. But essentially you have like a family that you think is innocent, but it turns out this family are cannibals. And they hunt down this innocent family and they start killing them off one by one. And this is almost like a horror comedy in a way. So it was decent, but it's very weird. And pretty much moving on from the rest of the list are all new release movies. Next up is Den of Thieves 2, Pantera. And I didn't have time to watch the first one, so I didn't include it on this list, but this is obviously the follow-up to the 2018 movie. And this brings back Gerard Butler and O'Shea Jackson Jr. Gerard Butler just lost his job, so now he has to join forces with O'Shea Jackson Jr. to rob the biggest diamond exchange in the world. Pretty solid movie, but they went a little bit too far on the buddy cop trope. And as of recording this, there is already talks of a third Den of Thieves movie. So, kind of excited where this franchise is going to go. But moving on from there, I have the most peculiar movie that I watched all month. I liked it, but I didn't love it. Better Man. And this is a brand new musical biopic that tells the story of Robbie Williams as a chimp. And this is a movie that is the first major bomb of 2025. I mean, this thing barely even made any money. And it's a shame because it's a pretty decent movie. It's bizarre, though. Okay. So essentially, this is following every trope that a musical biopic is a part of. You have this guy or woman who comes from nothing, and then they find something that gets them famous for a while, and then they fall into that trap of fame and fortune, and then everything goes to crap. So Robbie Williams went down the path of drugs and alcohol, and he basically tried to get past all that. The way this movie looks, it doesn't look good at all, but I thought the story was actually very interesting. Will I ever rewatch this? Probably not. But I really liked all the music in here. And it was directed very, very well. I mean, Mike Gracie directed The Greatest Showman, so you know this is going to be a great movie, regardless of quality, because he knows how to direct musical numbers. And I think the scene that stands out in this entire movie was the rock DJ scene. That one was probably my favorite part of the entire movie. And then once this comes to a close, you have Robbie Williams at Knebworth, which is basically a huge British musical festival, and he's coked out of his mind. He starts seeing images of himself fighting with himself, and it almost looks like a medieval battle. That's weird. But I mean, overall, this is a halfway decent movie, but it's a very niche movie as well. That was Better Man. And if you want to see reviews for all these movies, I'll also post a playlist that features all of my reviews for these movies for 2025, I should say. But moving on from there, I have a major disappointment. Wolfman. boy, I wanted to love this one. But this is the new Leigh Whannell Universal monster horror movie about Wolfman. So this is about a family who goes back to Oregon to find out what happened to the dad's father. But the father gets attacked by a wolf man, and he slowly becomes a wolf man. And that's pretty much the entire movie. So it's a very, very slow movie that, in my opinion, really leads to nothing. And that is very frustrating because I really wanted to dig this movie. I mean, Leigh Whannell put together Invisible Man, and he nearly perfected it. What happened here? I don't know. But moving on from there, a big surprise for me was One of Them Days. And this is a brand new hood comedy that stars Keke Palmer and SZA as two roommates who has a horrible day. So they both embark on a quest to get enough money to survive a rent. Pretty much the entire movie, and I found that their chemistry was done to perfection. I would really like to see both of these girls in another movie together. They just really made this movie watchable. And I said in my review that this is definitely a female Friday. So that was One of Them Days. Presence was another different one. But this is about a family who is being haunted by a recently deceased girl. But it's a very different approach here. You basically have the presence slash ghost as the POV here. So there's a lot of wide angle shots and a lot of transitions. Unfortunately, this movie really did not work for me. I found the gimmick to be extremely boring and very tedious. And not to mention, this is not even a horror movie. It's more of like a family drama with supernatural elements in it. Another thing I stated in my review here was think in a Violent Nature meets Paranormal Activity. So this was okay, but I doubt that I'd ever rewatch this. So moving on from there, Flight Risk. Yeah, the punching bag of January.
That is a pile of dog shit.
This is the brand new Mel Gibson, yes, that Mel Gibson action thriller. And this stars Mark Wahlberg, Michelle Dockery, and Topher Grace. Topher Grace is brought in for questioning after an accountant problem with the mob, and he is literally on the plane with an FBI agent, and then Mark Wahlberg is an imposter as a pilot, but he turns out to be an assassin. I have no idea what happened to this movie here, but it was a baffling movie. So, I definitely unload on this movie in my review. If you want to check that out, playlist is going to be over here somewhere. But let's wrap this thing up with the final movie that I watched for January. Companion. Easily the best movie of the year so far. And this is a brand new horror, sci-fi, comedy, romance movie that features Jack Quaid and Sophie Thatcher. Jack Quaid is a very controlling dude against Sophie Thatcher because he talks to her very weirdly, and you wonder what is going on. But you learn very quickly that Sophie Thatcher might not be human. Well, this movie has been out long enough for me to tell you that Sophie Thatcher, Iris, is a fembot, if you will. So, she basically learns how to make herself more intelligent, and she snaps towards these people, and she just exacts revenge. This is a movie that is definitely going to work for a lot of people, but once you get to like that whole twist, this movie is actually a lot of fun. So, those are the 17 movies I watched in January. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and 1 month down. And if you like this sort of content, like, comment, subscribe. I will highly appreciate you. Okay. Tomorrow, I'm going to go see Heart Eyes. And Friday, I'm going to go see Love Hurts. So you'll finally get my reviews for both of those movies coming very soon. I definitely can't wait for both of them. And let's just keep 2025 going. We've barely began, but we are in the second week of February. And we're definitely planning on another very good year for movies here. So we'll see what happens. Okay, that's all I got for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Adios. Peace. And check out all these reviews for my new releases if you want more thoughts. But I'll see you later. Take care.